What's up, guys? Grandmaster Max Illingworth here, and well, already I have some good news to share actually before I get into the plug leaks that I'll be plugging with going through some of the hands I lost. You see, I played a bunch of micro stakes multi-table tournaments on Ignition in the last start just last night, just did an all-nighter. I ended up making like $200 profit, even won my first online tournament, more than 27 players actually, so was definitely a very satisfying result, let's say. As I just set up the stats so you can see the same stats that I had access to when I made these decisions in these tournaments. Yeah, that looks quite nice now. This hand I think we can kind of skip actually, but to be it's so interesting because even though this guy raised to like 15 big blind, like ace queen is a slam dunk call, but I actually had a gut feeling he had ace king here. I'm like, I think this guy has ace king, but my hand is way too good to fold. In the end, I do make the call, and yeah, he has ace king, so, you know, my feeling was right, but you can't really fold ace queen, or you're just folding everything to shoves, and you're just going to blind out, so don't really regret the decision. But let's go on to another hand, this one being a heads-up one. One thing I probably should mention, I think, yeah, I was looking actually in my tournament history in Poker Tracker, which is a program I'm using here to play through the hands. Basically, what I was doing was, trying to find like the hands like just from the tournament I won so I could show you that, but then it just wouldn't load up because of some weird glitch, so I'll be downloading that tomorrow. But yeah, this hand is actually from the final heads up battle I did in the tournament that I won, so we end up getting to a little bit anyway. And yeah, at this point it's kind of an interesting moment to shove because in theory this board does favour the big blinds range a lot better than mine, so I was actually kind of half expecting him to donk lead, and then I probably would have done a check raise there with the logical, candidate of the of the suited flush draw, but and then I'd decide just turn it into just a bluff shove, just shoving, like bluffing with some equity, and he does decide to call. I think he had a 7 or something, and yeah, he ends up like doubling up, so yeah, it's one of these cases where it's an interesting question, like probably from a GTO perspective, I'm not sure if this is the absolute best play or not. I haven't checked this with the solver, but yeah, I do think that the shove, like, it does hit his range better, but I think that, like, yeah, it's a case where you're just securing that equity, and if you kind of like, check behind, he's just going to keep betting with any two cards. If you bet small, I think he's just very likely to check raise here. So I figured if I'm probably getting check raised if I bet like shoved, maybe it's better if I shove on him and at least get some fold equity. But yeah, and then he had top pair and it held, so what can you do? And yeah, he doubles up, but I sort of know from playing a lot of heads up that heads up like players like cockroaches is so hard to kill off just when you get them to a low stack. They're probably going to find a way to like double their stack somehow with some, all in. So I kind of, didn't let it tilt me. Yeah, that's an interesting one, like limping behind with the fives, because yeah, you absolutely could raise with this hand in theory, but this guy's a short stack, this guy's a short stack, we've got quite a few short stacks, so it's one of these cases where I decide, okay, it's one where if one of the short stack shoves, I'm happy, of course, calling with the fives, but if one of the monster stack shoves, like this 1.2 million guy here, then at least I can get away. And what happens, I think we end up having some multi-way flop and I just miss. Like a bit of a spoiler, these are all the hands that I lost in the series, like where I lost like 10k chips or more is what I'm reviewing. And yeah, I end up deciding to call because, yeah, I mean, I'm getting a good price. I decided to shove. I couldn't read the text there with the chips. But yeah, this guy decides to fold, and so I was just doing this to sort of, yeah, make the pot a lot bigger and, just deny the equity. I think with the pocket five's a decent choice, but this guy does end up hitting with queen 10, which, yeah, if you've talked to me a lot, you'll know that this is my least favorite hand of all time, because it has a knack of just screwing you over so many times when you have a really good hand pre-flop. But if you have it, then you're probably going to lose a big pot when you hit top pair or something like this. So this guy shoves. I mean, yeah, I decided to raise over. Again, like this sort of a strategy I've started doing recently to start like shoving some of the more marginal hands, even when someone goes all in, to try to avoid the pots going multi-way and maximize the chance of winning it. I don't know if it's objectively the correct decision, but I've noticed my results seem to be a bit better since I have taken this much more aggressive stance, not just allow myself to get shoved over all the time. The guy does fold, and yeah, he ends up, I think, winning this one, yeah, with 10 jack. But so yeah, like the fact you had a weaker hand, I think it makes sense to isolate. When they're showing a weaker hands, I like to, yeah, try to isolate it where possible. Anyway, this one, yeah, also from the heads up battle. So yeah, I decided to make it... Okay, yeah, he makes a min raise. Obviously, we defend here. Um, so yeah, at this point we check. It hits his range a lot better, but I decide to check raise. Actually, I'm not even sure why I check raised here. Like, I'm guessing I was just really tired, but I must have got some sort of tell, like, by the amount of time he spent. Because I think, yeah, he ended up betting, like, in half a second. So I think when he bet in half a second, I just figured that he was bluffing here. So I decided to sort of try to raise, like, as a sort of exploitative thing. But then he called, I'm like, okay, he has something good here, so we're just going to give up. I mean, I reckon he probably had, like, some, top pair or something at this point. Like, he could have used, like, ace-4, for example. So, yeah. I mean, I think, though, yeah, this sort of play, like, I noticed that, when you're out of position, you do need to be willing to make some sort of, like, check raise bluffs and, yeah, turn pairs into bluffs. So I was trying to do that a little bit, especially since the heads-up match was very, very aggressive. So, because he was being so aggressive, it forced me to kind of be aggressive as well in turn. Because the blinds were so short, like, I would just blind out if I kept folding to his aggression, You can't just wait for aces heads up. So we end up having this guy just flat called in the small blind. We've got position. We make it 60. This guy raises, and I think I just get out of here. Because, yeah, I mean, you only have... Well, I mean, you're blocking a lot of the logical bluffs here. Like, you're blocking something like ace-king, you're blocking 10-9, you're blocking jack-10, you're blocking the flush draw. So this is just a very easy fold when he gets out of the way. I mean, I think the bet's fine. I mean, a lot of time you'll have missed the board, but actually, if I would have that big of a range advantage, so against a very strong player, maybe you would check that one sometimes and then bet on the turn. But anyway, I don't know why this thing keeps moving. I made a low CD, but I like, yeah, these spots just, out of the way. This guy limps, we make it 50. He calls, so yeah, I mean, already his range is not going to be that great, because if he had a really good hand, he would have, raised, would have shoved there. Because that's the thing, when they limp halftime, I think they're just doing it with aces, but actually a lot of time they're just limping with junk. This guy raised, and yeah, you just have to fold the ace high here, I think, because, like, he's not really going to be bluffing with much here. Like, even if he's bluffing with, I don't know, 5-2 suited, like 5-2 of spades, that's already a favorite. So we get out of the way. We have another one from the heads-up match. Kind of glad I filtered based on large pot size, because it allows me to actually review more of the hands from the thing, and when sort of like how to win a tournament, people focus on like how to gain a lot of chips, and that's quite important. But it's also important to know how to like lose the minimum. That's another very important skill for winning tournaments, I found. This one I do decide, to do a standard bet. I mean, we've got the ace, he calls, and yeah, we have the 7, so I can't remember if I don't think I did some bluff here. Yeah, I lost the hand, so obviously I don't think I bluffed it. Okay, this was sort of like a semi-bluff, like I do have the 7 as a blocker. But yeah, he keeps calling, and when the 7 hits, I'm like, okay, I have some showdown value, so I'm just going to check it down here. And then, yeah, he shows jack 9, so... I mean, yeah, it's understand he had the jack as well, so I think he wasn't really going anywhere. I mean, it would be like if I shove here, whether he would call, but I have a gut feeling he probably would, in this case, because some of the draws kind of missed, so... Anyway, and he has the blocker to the flush. I think that would make it a call if I were to shove. So, unfortunately, we did not shove. We, took our showdown value. Didn't work out, but that's fine. The guy, yeah, decides to free bet. And this guy was free betting big. Like, he was doing, like, 4x raise sizes, 4.5, 5x re-raise sizes. So I was also trying to be a little bit more tighter, but also, in some case, free betting more lightly. I think if I had king 9 offsuit, I think I would actually 4-bet this. I would consider 4-bet shoving. Actually, to be fair, the stack size are, like, so thin, it probably doesn't make sense to have a 4-bet bluffing range as much in this spot. But anyway... Yeah, the guy shoves. I mean, it's frustrating, but I think you just have to fold here. Because, like, his bluffs are probably going to be ace high, which have a speed. So, and also people tend to way under bluff these boards, like these paired boards as such. Especially when it's high cards, it hits his range so well. Anyway, we've got big multi-way stuff. Oh, this one. So, yeah, I remember I lost this one. But, okay, this guy shoves for 15 big blinds. I think, yeah, it is just a call with the ace 9 suited. But yeah, this guy comes along for the ride. We miss the flush draw and, yeah, pocket 8s and pocket kings. So, yeah, I remember this now. Yeah, I was doing very well in this tournament, actually. And, yeah, I mean, I sort of figured that, you have to call ace 9 or you're just folding everything here. If you start making folds based on ICM, you're just going to be folding everything and you're going to, like, min-cash. And if you focus on min-cashing, you're just not going to make it as a poker player. You got to, I think, go for the big wins just because of the structure being so, like, top-heavy. You can't play with fear. But yeah, the guy has kings, and it's just unlucky for us. Because we actually had decent equity on the flop, but yeah, just didn't go away on that one. Bit frustrating, but at least the other tournaments went well, and I did still like cash, I think, for like 3x or so from that event. So it wasn't all bad. And I mean, if you do win in that spot, you position yourself so well to, make final table and try to win the whole thing. Anyway, this guy makes it a 4x raise. We do decide to call, like, it's an offsuit connector. It can, I think, play reasonably easily post-flop. The guy checks through. We decide to fire because we did hit this board. Also notice how, I didn't just, do a donk bet because then you're very vulnerable to just being shoved on. I decided just to check to protect my checking range. But when he checked back, you definitely are going to fire. He calls and, I decided to check. Again, 7 is not that great. And he checks and ends up having the queen. So yeah, he had top pair on the flop. So again, would have been very vulnerable to a check raise if we had donk led. And, we kind of lost less money by, exercise a little bit of pot control here. And the next one, yeah, another one from the heads up part. We'll call, 5-6-4. And yeah, when the guy shoves, you have 2 overcards, it's not really going to cut it. If you had an ace of clubs, maybe you'd consider a call, but otherwise not really. This one, yeah, we have... Well, I decided, to shove with 10-6. He's very short stacked, so I just said, you know what? It's a good enough hand at this blind level to shove, so let's just go for it. He calls, and I think he had a better hand. He had some ace-x, but somehow... Maybe he didn't have ace-x. Yeah, he had king-9, yeah, close enough. So he ends up picking it up, but, what are you going to do? You have to follow the Nash charts in general, unless you see something really wrong the opponent's doing. Follow the Nash charts, have no regrets. That's my policy for these things. Of course, the Nash charts don't factor in ICM, so you can't fall 100% literally. Because, yeah, maybe someone has a very tiny stack and you don't want to be punting it off when you can make money just by folding. But otherwise, yeah, I like to follow the Nash charts in general. Which I have, pretty close to memorized at this point. So yeah, I decided to go for a bet. And he does call, yeah, you're seeing, that a lot of these players, you're seeing it when it's not working, but there are also a lot of times I was doing this and they were just folding, or I would, make some big river shove and they would just fold. So I think this sort of session, yeah, it's a good chance to try and notice my leaks, but also to kind of, yeah, not, get too hung up on the results when evaluating the play. So at this point, yeah, I do decide to let it go. I do have an open-ender, but it's still, yeah, only a small amount of equity. And yeah, I mean, I think you just have to get away because his bluffs are going to have ace-x probably. So, or some queen, which all of them have us beat. So we get out of the way. And yeah, at this point, I have pocket 9s. And yeah, I decide to... Also, notice my raise size, I make it 2x pot in general just to try to make it heads up. This guy does shove and this guy calls, which I thought was a bit weird. And yeah, I would have loved to have just ripped it in here and made this guy fold. But because it was less than 2x the size of my raise when he shoved, my only option is to call, which does suck. And yeah, I do decide to shove here because, I mean, I have an overpair. We're very short stacked, so it's probably going to get all in anyway. If I call, if I check and the other guy shoves, I'm in a very tough spot. So I think shoving's just the correct play, and he ends up folding. And yeah, I think this guy ended up hitting a 4-card flush. Just got ridiculously lucky with ace-7 off. So yeah, kind of unfortunate. I think if I had won this hand, I'd just be in a very good position for the tournament. But, because, yeah, I mean, I would just get so much from this guy's, raise as well. So, kind of unfortunately, yeah, it didn't work out. But, because we played very well earlier, we could sort of ride out some of the negative variants at least. So this guy shoves with 11 big blinds. I mean, pocket 6 is just a very easy, over shove, I think. I mean, maybe a call is the better play, but I just don't want this guy in the pot. If I call, this guy might send shove on me then. But I've seen these guys do this so much. So, let's just get it heads up. And I think, yeah, he has king 10s, when it rains, it pours, right? This is my recent saying. So, yeah, we get pocket 8s here. Just want to... Yeah, we're good for time. I'm checking the time because I do have to go for a poker tournament. Actually, I'm playing one at 7 p.m. Just a free roll one with a $25 add-on up at the Forest Hotel. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, do make sure to like it. So this guy limps, and I'm always very suspicious these limps, he has been limping a lot of hands, so I probably should just raise here, but I'm always, paranoid, that this guy's going to shove, or this guy is going to, free bet shove, and say, ho, I have aces. That being said, I do decide to raise, I use my read that 57% VPIP means he is very weak post-flop, and also, he's hardly ever raising. So it's just going to be all kinds of junk. We do decide to check. Yeah, I think, actually, I would probably... In some cases, I would actually prefer to raise here. I prefer to bet... maybe about, 20k or so. But it's quite a coordinated board, with 2 cards over a 10. And I think when it's this coordinated, I think that checking is actually a good idea almost with range. Because also it protects when you have, a queen or a jack. And then I do decide to fire, he checks twice. I'm thinking, okay, I have the 8s. I'd much rather have the 10s. That would be a better bluff, but the 8s are still a decent bluff, I think, to, try to, get some value. But yeah, then I decide to just check and it's thing, like, this guy was slow playing. He actually played the hand very badly because he had 10 jack. So he was, like, blocking the straight draw, and he was also, like, having, like, the 2 jacks as well. So in his position, like, yeah, I think checking the flop is fine, actually, with the idea to check raise it, but I ended up checking and kind of circumventing that plan. But I think that on the turn, he should absolutely raise in that spot. Like, he should raise, and I think he should go all in on the river, I think is the way to try to get the most value. You might need to also do it with bluffs, like you do with ace 10 as well. King 10 obviously is a straight, but, you could definitely do it with some other hands as bluffs, and that would force me to be right, in a sense, in those spots. So this one, yeah, this was a fun one where I think, yeah, I ended up just, like, getting paid off massively. This was just craziness. Yeah, this guy ended up shoving, and, yeah, this guy got out of the way, but, yeah, the aces. I think he ended up cracking him. Yeah, he ended up cracking him with, like, 6-2. Like, it's... Okay, yeah, it's 2 big blinds, but, like, yeah, just a weird one, really. Like, yeah, just kind of unlucky, but, we didn't lose that much, at least. It's sort of nicer when you win, like, you win big, and when you, like, get a cooler, it's a small one. That's kind of the way you want it. Because you can't avoid the coolers when you're playing, like, 9 hours a day. So, yeah, this one, yeah, this guy shoves. We over-shove with ace-queen suited. I think not really controversial decision. It's one thing I've sort of been doing, like, I kind of, in the last, let's say, 4 or 5 weeks or so, I started to kind of put ace-queen into my 4-bet bluffing range. I mean, previously I was probably doing it as a value bet, which was a mistake, but now, yeah, I do sort of will be willing to shove ace-queen as a bluff. The idea that we block aces, we block queens, we block ace-king. So then if I have kings, like, you still have decent equity, like, 30% equity with ace-queen suited. In this one, I think, yeah, our hand does... Okay, he ends up hitting the king on the river, so unlucky for us, but, that's poker sometimes. So, anyway... Yeah, this guy raises it up. I think I end up just calling. Like, as a general policy with the suited ace, I'm generally happy to just call. Because they play pretty well multi-way post-flop. Like, if you hit your flush draw, you're just loving life, You can just win a very big pot. And if not, you can probably get away quite cheap. So this one I do decide to fire. I think multi-way it's actually better to check in this spot. But I sort of figured that, most of the cards that could come are going to be higher than a 6 and they will overtake me. So my logic was, well, let's try to get some money in while our hand is probably good. And this guy ends up calling, and yeah, we have the 8. And now we have the flush draw, so we're kind of loving life here. So we keep firing. The guy ends up racing, and I think I make the call, because, like, I'm getting good enough odds. Like, I need to put 13k into the pot to win, 63 here. So it's like, yeah, you're definitely getting good enough odds with 17%. And then the king comes, and yeah, when he bets, like, I just get out of the way, because we just have a weak bluff catcher. And I just didn't think he was going to be bluffing much in this spot. Like, when the board pairs, people tend to underbluff. And, I mean, he could very easily have, like, a full house. Like, he could well be, playing, like, pocket 8, 6s, I could see playing this way. He could also just have a king that hit. Like, if he was playing, I don't know, if he had, like, king 9 or something. Like, maybe he had king 9 suited or something like this. Very well could be in his range and win the bluffs. So we decided just to let that go, and I don't really regret it at all. And this one, yeah, still some pretty big pots, aren't there? Don't know if I'll get through all the hands, but I'll try to get through as many as I can at least. Also, yeah, make sure to subscribe if you, want to keep up with more of these videos. So we check, because, I mean, you should just check, I think, in general. Also, I mean, this hand probably, like, should be in free bet some of the time. But I decided to call it, because I think a7 doesn't play that well post-flop as such. Obviously, we're just going to be checking range here, and, I do decide to fold. I mean, it's a little bit exploitable. I think I should be calling with ace-high some of the time heads up, but I just felt like, with his min-raising range, because he was raising big a lot, I just felt like he'd been min-raising a lot of hands, like the Jack 9-5 level, so I decided just to fold. Next hand, we have King-Queen. We min-raise it up. Actually, this table is kind of funny, because this table... Like, previously, like, they'd seen me min-raise with queens and win an all-in, and then I min-raise with aces, and they just all folded to me. So I kind of realized, like, they were just going to fold to me if I min-raise, so I just started exploiting, just min-raising, like, whenever they just kind of all folded to me, like, and I was first to act. So I'd raise min, and I'd just keep folding, but then these guys, like, these big stacks came in, I wasn't the big stack anymore, and suddenly, yeah, my strategy wasn't working as well, but this guy now decides to shove. And I think, do I shove over the top? Yeah, I do shove over the top. Just to get this guy out of there. Because if I call, he calls. I'm out of position and it just kind of sucks. So I think that, yeah, probably a solver would say it's not the best idea or the Nash shuts. But I'm like, screw it, I'm not gonna have you suck out on me in position. So I just get it heads up. He has ace king, just unlucky for us. But yeah, I mean, I would make that call every day of the week with the king queen off. Just an easy call, I think. So this guy, yeah, we make it a min raise. He just calls. I was half expecting him to free bet, and then your ace seven suited, you could actually consider a four bet. I think in that spot, like if he made it 50k, like I actually would seriously consider shoving at that point. Because if you're going to be in for 30% of your stack or more, you should generally shove. Is the sort of principle I like to follow. So we have a call. We've got the idiot end of the draw, so I do decide to actually just fold here. Because I just think when he bets this big on a monotone board, like I think he's not doing this with a weaker hand than a queen as such. I mean, it's quite impressive, but like it's a board where, again, people I think tend to underbluff a little bit. I get there some people will just shove like because they see free cards and they have like, I don't know, a 7 of diamonds or something. But these are so very bad players who can, just stack them like half the time. So that's always nice. So yeah, this one we go for a little bit of a steal. I mean, it is correct, I think, to do this in general. Probably like in terms of sizing, maybe I should make it 12, but okay, I decided to make it 3x instead. Because I think I saw he was a little bit nitty, so I thought maybe I could try to take it down like with a smaller size, be a little exploitative. We do bet. Because I mean, he just called, so I mean, this should give us a little bit of a range advantage. Not a big range advantage, but we have a small range advantage here. But when he called, I think we do just have to give up, and yeah, when he bets big, we just get the heck out of there. I mean, he probably had some 2-pair would be my guess. Or actually, had 2-pair he would have raised, I think, to my bet. So he probably has like some Queen X probably here. Anyway, we get the pocket jacks in the hijack. We raise it up. Yeah, he must have gone for a min raise. So again, we make a 2x pot. And this guy calls, and yeah, we're very like short stack. Yeah, you just have to get it in. You're going to get it in like one way or the other. But he ends up, yeah, having the queen. So yeah, just unlucky for us. We were flipping, and he happened to win the flip. So what can you do? This one, yeah, we have a min raise. Only 3 players left. This was in the 20 that I won, by the way. So 16. So they both end up calling. Yeah, I mean, in this spot, like with the effective stack size, I could just shove here. Maybe I should just shove. But I noticed that these guys were folding quite a lot to my min raises, like when I started to get the chip lead. So I was starting to do it again as a little bit of an exploitative measure. But when they call, you're kind of in a bad spot, and you just have to get out of the way with the 2 overcards, and this guy ends up folding as well to the shove. So kind of, yeah, curious one, but is what it is. So yeah, this one we min raise with King 6 suited. I mean, it's a good enough hand, like King 6 suited kind of is a... You want to put the suited kings often in your sort of bluffing range, because they do play fairly well post-flop. Like if you can make a flush still, the king is a high card with some blocker potential. So not a bad hand to bluff with. When this guy bets, I just think, yeah, is he doing this with a weaker hand? Probably not. The bluffs are likely to be an ace on this board, so we just fold. So now we raise it up with ace 5 off. Yeah, I mean, in this one, like, these guys are so short stacked, like, I did consider folding, but I think that if it was ace 4, ace 3 off, maybe I'd fold, but if it's ace 5, I think it's good enough to raise here. The guy does call, we hit top pair. And it's Donklead is kind of weird. Like, if I had a better kicker, like ace queen or ace king, I would definitely, I think, check raises. I would definitely raise this board, probably to 16k or so. But because Donklead, I don't know what he's doing outside, to just call. This one I was very tempted to fold, actually. But if he made it a bigger size, if he made it 15k or more, I actually would probably fold because it's 4 to a straight. And people tend to underbluff a lot of 4 to a straight. But I thought, maybe he's doing this with like a king or, doing this with a, some jack that got overexcited. So we did decide to call, and, when he bets on the river, I decided to just fold here. I mean, it is a weird sizing, I have to admit, but I just felt that if he's not doing this with a queen, he's almost certainly doing this with a better ace. So I decided just to let it go. There's just nothing really that we beat in his range, I think. So, because I mean, if he's doing this like with 8-7 suited, it just doesn't make any sense. So he makes it 16. I guess he could have been like bluffing with a lower pocket pair, but it just seems unlikely. It feels like he would probably raise, like he would free bet the pocket pair in that spot. Because the pocket pairs don't play that well post flop out of position, because if you hit your hand and you win a monster pot, but that's only like 12% of the time. The rest of the time you miss your hand, you're just in a really tough spot. So this one, because there are a couple of limps, is another trick I often like to do, where I like to shove over the limpers and just really kind of punish them and try to pick up the pot. Ace 5, yeah, maybe is not quite a good enough hand to do it in a certain sense. Like, maybe this one you should objectively just call. But, Yeah, I think that when you're out of position, it's not going to play that well anyway. Like, you just want to shove the high card. In the end, we do get called, and this guy, as you probably figured, does win. We hit the 5, but he ends up hitting us straight, so... But yeah, the fact he called, like, with ace-2, I mean, it is ace-2 suited, so... I mean, yeah, it's not absolutely terrible, but still, like, you know, what's the worst hand I'm going to be shoving? There, you know, like, the worst hand I shove is... Well, ace-5 is honestly, like, even that probably shouldn't be range 8, probably thinking I'd be shoving, like, ace-7, ace-8, so... He's just going to be dominated, or I'll have some pocket pair way too often, I think, for that shove for him to call to be a good idea. But, okay, it ends up paying off for him with some luck. So, I mean, to be fair, like, ace-5, ace-2 a lot of time, it would just be a chop anyway. But, yeah, as it turns out, we decide to just call with the suited ace. Yeah, looking at stacks, I think I was happy to just go all in if one of the shorter stacks called. I didn't want to, yeah, kind of raise and get free bet. That would have been a bit difficult. So we just limp behind and say, okay, if I hit my hand, I'll probably win a big pot. And if not, we can just get away pretty easily. So we do... this one, yeah, it's kind of a curious one where, yeah, this guy is in the cutoff here and he just called. So I kind of figured his range had to be quite weak at this point. That, you know, what is he doing this with? I felt that such a small bet that probably he's doing this with a draw. And I thought, okay, if he's doing this with a draw, well, my a6 beats the draws. So that's kind of the reason why I raised here. It is a bluff raise, but in a weird way, it's almost like a value raise against what I felt he would be mostly making a small bet with on this board. Like, I felt he was just trying to buy the draw, and actually kind of interesting what my read was here, because, yeah, make it 3,000, like, I picked up the flush draw. He just calls. The 6 comes, and yeah, this is where I decide to actually turn into a bluff at this point, because I just felt like he has a draw, but I wasn't sure, like, which draw he had. Like, I sort of felt like he, I'm not sure what I was thinking exactly at the time, but I just had this gut feeling that, you know, he had a draw and that I was probably good. End up shoving at this point, kind of turning a pair into a bluff was kind of what I was doing. Because I felt that if I check at this point, I felt that he just would just shove, like, whether he has it or not, was kind of my feeling. It would put me in a very tough spot where I'd probably have to fold the 6. So I turned to a bluff. We ended up getting very unlucky. He ended up having 9-10. So, you know, he had a open-ender as such. So, yeah, he was... So, my read was actually right that he was trying to buy the... trying to, like, buy, like, a cheap, draw to, be able to play it profitably. But, yeah, I mean, the shove, like, yeah, it's easy to say, like, it's stupid because he had the straight. But, yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, I just felt like at this point that with the open-ender... I mean, admittedly, my sizing maybe was a little bit too low here. Like, I mean, I sort of... It's just, yeah, if he has, like, 9-10, if I make it a bit bigger, like if I make it 5k, he's not really getting the right price to call. But the problem if I do that, then is that he, how to say it, well, basically he's not, like he's just getting a really good price then, like, to call on the river. So it means that if I continue to bluff, like it doesn't work that well. Whereas I felt like in this spot, like here, I still have like a pretty decent sized bet that I can sort of bluff, like say if the 6 didn't come, I might still like fire anyway. Like if it was a 9, I might still fire. If it was a 5, I would probably like still fire in that spot. But yeah, just kind of unlucky. He has the straight that came, and not a lot I think you can really do in that spot. Just kind of bad luck. I mean, yeah, it's easy to say I should check, but I think actually the shove is not that bad here. I think turning the pair into a bluff is not the worst thing to do in this spot, because like 9-10 is like one very specific like hand, like it's 16 combination, and there's so many other hands he could have, like like some 7s or 8s I think would just fold in this spot. If I put it in big here, I think we get enough better hands to fold. I think that the shove there isn't that bad, even though it didn't work out this time. Anyway, as it turned out, it goes 120. And we decided to just raise up, just stealing the limps again. This guy does call in the button, so we're out of position, but we do pick up a flush draw. I decided to check it with the intent of check raising. So 1200, we make it 4603. I think making it 2x pot makes sense with a half pot bet. He has to have something pretty good, I think, to call here. So this one, I think, but he probably has like some king. He could be doing like just hanging around with an 8, just being stubborn. So we continue firing. I mean, we still have the flush draw. But the board pairing is not a great card for me. That's why I decided to bet a bit on the smaller side. Because anyway, I find you should, reduce the sizing a little bit on the paired board. This guy raised, I'm like, okay, I'm getting a good enough price to go in with the flush draw. Actually, I mean, it's true. Like, even though we're not getting the implied odds, we are getting the right price of 15%. So I do make the call, the draw misses. And when he shoves, you have to get out of the way. I mean, if the board wasn't paired here, I would actually consider turning it into a bluff like shoving, but he sort of shows short stacked. I thought he would call with any pair, so I decided just to check and try to take my showdown value if he checks, but yeah, he shoves and just have to fold here. And ends up having king 10, so a lot you could do in that spot. I'm thinking like how many more hands I have here. Actually, this is the last hand, so actually, yeah, that is pretty good timing because I have to get going pretty soon because I'm like playing a free roll tournament in 5 minutes on my mobile on PP Poker. Anyway, we decided to shove here. I think that it's a good enough hand to shove like this short stacked. He ends up calling, and yeah, we're out of the tournament because he hit an ace. Okay, I had pocket nines. So yeah, not a lot you can do there. But anyway, that was my review of my hands in the tournament. I realize I get so excited when doing this. Sometimes like I talk really fast, so that's me being excited. But yeah, maybe one day I will learn to speak a little bit more slowly when talking about poker. When it's not. Again, I don't want to say when it's not as exciting because like I want to like have this thrill for the rest of my life. But yeah, it was sort of fun. Yeah, to look at these hands and sort of see the cases like where the the bluffs didn't work out or where they had better value. Just sort of see what the patterns were when they did have it in a sense. So yeah, interesting review. I think a lot one can take away from it, both in terms of I mean I don't think I actually made that many mistakes honestly. Like there are a couple of shoves maybe that maybe from a solver point of view are not the best, but I think that humans tend to overfold to shoves anyway. So I'm never really going to apologize, for a bluff that didn't work in a sense, unless it just doesn't make any sense at all. But I think the bluffs I made here did generally make sense for the most part. Anyway, yeah, I'll see you guys for the next video. And also, one thing before I go, I should let you know, I was able to actually set up some accommodation for Albury, so I will be playing that poker tour the last few days, and probably won't be like some sort of hand analysis, because like, I've been playing poker for like 10 hours live. I'll probably want to take it easy, but we'll see what vlogs we can come up with anyway. It's kind of ironic to say like, poker vlogs like not really good for improvement, but maybe it can be a good idea to to document the journey and reflect on my on things that went well, things that can be improved. Anyway, I'll see you guys for the next video, and until then, take care.